A little bit. A little bit. My heart's just quite weird enough for what's beneath the flipping of the head for the sick in the upper, but against the roof, you can find nothing to rise and a thought climbing up your ladder with the sky for beneath that, for the beneath your cabin for the sand. Constellations for golden now. What's now is the sky for this and amongst the cabins of the palm, the tables of the live for the switchboards. Not joking enough for the analog for your telephone for the switchboards. Operators redirecting your call for what's the whole thing still feels grand enough for the beam. Ceilings in the made out of sand for this just a dream for just not to be real. Or to find 15 minutes of the fame for the things that really ever think your switchboard or never. There's some reason I can find what's aboard. Board for that for the rest really hell. And hell for the reality. What do you think of this to me for this? And I don't understand for the dream. It appears as bad as soon as that for the sun draws near. Details will disappear for the vague interpretation. Ideological for the smears and like letters of the stain along lost tears that I don't understand. As soon as that sun decides to rise, everything in irrelevance is gone enough for the dream to make that like a bandit fall swiftly into the night. Stairs help me and I don't understand it for the what final leaving of a clue. Switchboards that are random with the gravity blue for the deep that for the gravity for the conscious and concise mind for the means of the currency of the memories of the token for the trust. This is what you can find in meaning for the letter, then the litter over with the dust of this of the spines of the silver song. What it meant for the dab with the swans are gone. That's really I made for flying or the pondering. And what you have for the flopping your wings so hard enough to keep falling out of the air. Whatever. Anyway, you can find the weather for the weather with the weather or not. You can find cures enough for the brain. Sucked it was fun enough for the dumping of what you can find the math test shivering in the wet and just a sleep and hot of sleep and if to deprived enough to bring your lunch today. Bring to find the talking of the chest or with the brother and chickens at school to never define the chicken a little bit of the chicken. How you can find that was a random and hoping to joy. Catch that. Would it be the rest of it, but to find what's normal. Instead of that, be the best of it. You can find hope the rest of the night. For this is the best tonight. You can find a necklace over your neck. For this, the tip of the pink and over the turquoise. I find a beating heart. Still that for the B-boy. You could just start from the whatever to know over to know me in a little ways you can. I find what's this was spent. Marbles held tight in my hand. Or going anywhere for the long time. To shine like that for the silver, the ginger one for the never. The fuzzy eye from real. Rainbows outside the lines. Find symmetrical for the tatter for the self for the life. For the requires enough and half finish as a portrait. And I don't even know what it to be like. It to be like you. Or find a clue whenever you could be like a see you real enough for the standing up and I'm real enough for the find the rainbows outside the line. And how about this? You can tell what's real dream near it finding the ending both. If this is nonsense good enough to find the rest. This will be the best. The worst. The thread, the attraction, the fleeting, the feeling and the lust and the passion. Simply attracted to what's being become the ravening of the feeling and desire, but the chasing the threads and where you find the end and all the edges of the fray may be for the soft emotion. Polyester, it was felt for the manufacture of feelings, holding us together for the fragile thread. Racing thoughts, desire to feel the skin against the lip of the road. Woven like silver enough for the sweet and real for the solid, the final bottle being worth the sweet sweat. It takes to turn your heart for the untangling of the story. Don't fall from now. Don't fall, hit the ground for use of some way to love. But you find cruise and never leave, and never come into the most inconveniencing situation. I had no choice but to hear some advice and find days for the worst and other days for something to be okay for you deserve everything and more for the simple you do the fun of it when I need to hear from you. Hear from you. Challenge was deep enough to prevent you from never alive for the conflict for the everlasting fight, for the battle for the sheer for the determination of both of those parties to go to the upper hand for the victory with regardless of that for the money. Extreme exodus. Planet damage. Regardless of the price of the martyr. Search the successful pleasure for this to be pleased. Until the other head spikes that for the demon, the former for the nothing, unwilling to comply yourself to be content for the peace of the union, both sides, and never the great laws of distress. Effortless to the pattern goes on in the everlasting divination. I find to divine. How hungry you need for the be content. Or are you even hungry again for the hunger pains? And over that for the strain, for the appetite. Everlasting fight for the battle for the you can have the upper party of the upper thing in your hand. And this the hand to count me out. This to pass on by for the entwined for the season added to disbelief. Added for the feather live and never the on earth, never the distant land, and I could find the wonderland for the how many have a good time here anyway for the burn spot. It's left for the toe for the listen to pain, for watching passages inside that glass, and you can find it. You should return to music with the hardest pain, to be able to connect with the layers that find your face inside of you, just be the same as your face inside of you. Feel the vibrations, can't you? Feel the words that are conversing straight to you, to the frequency of the universe, and you can be you and frequently I can be the same word in reverse. Versatility. Don't tell me. I want to see you. It rises to bloom in summer fields with the water on concrete. Congeals the bees, the buzz, and much to do for plants that's drowning in the glue. Wild animals want a slice of the wonder that created the frozen mice, and never to do but the proclaimed sacrifice. Nothing can be done twice, and can it be again? And the curious thing to know, poor person, listening to the jotting down your notes that you are expressing that, but still you don't know it's true. And I still don't trust you for really getting paid with the dose that to make not feel emotionally free. Prosecution lesson time, why I share what's have earned, why I don't have anyone ever earned it, and this is fine what's to learn. And love the little for the civil, the love, this will be the little thunderbird for the hang around the night for the lonely you are, for the hit a day for the not to be fret, my dear. I find what's the companion on the way for the little arrow, hang beside your wing. Delicate enough for the den that you can find the trivial thing for the togethers two for the silver chain and never just sway. Story snap for the finger, single arrow for this way, for this two and hold for the mode against the warmth for this the only living art for these wings and never again be cold enough for the wind over the turquoise heart. Single arrow for the fletching of the dark silver small together for the bold enough that you can held against it after the habit spark. Warm for the fruit, wish that which just could beat my own young heart and never the finding pause. All the leaves lives and all define what's to love. And this is all again for the beating and the buzzing of the heart for the let it be. And then I expect that sweet fruit for the corrupted season. Yonder neither that for the suspected warmth and if the sure to find a shade of poison tree. For only death blossoms for this is desecrated for the garden. Social media for the new hair and addictive for the log in. Log in where grabs hold won't let go. Facebook, your Twitter for the never to getting daily fixes your control. Tear lies apart, destroying your families and destroying the country. And then maybe it's time for your rehab for another computer, internet for the net caught for that to be. Your genesis for the lighthouse and never to stop that just an erection for the pink post lady. Eyes never to lie but to lock yourself in the distance of the death and the residing within where the living body is. And what your smile disguises. My look condemns the eyes that never lie. The fight for the reek, for the bicker, for the fragile enough for the tested wicker. See through the front of this and only the gaze and this the gall. Or the cause, that for the empty bottle, that was the cause. It's not enough, it isn't the good. Hourglass instead of the wood. You just get it and want respect for the subtle life of the bedroom you wept. Cycle starts, death is another day for the peace for the never. This you played it till the end the same. When the bottle's empty and then spread the shame for the same. Invalid for the fraud, untrue thing that I could do for the fix the pain, for the hurt, for the guilt, for your heart and the fame, for the glass house you built, for there's nothing there I can hear. If there was ever the love, this a life, if this would be no trust at the destination for your ex at the end, that the bottle was only your friend. And have three and it makes a question mark for the love. Take the world for the snorting up. You find that for the sighting, for the good times, and you and pass it in the bottom, for the roof of the stuck over the soles of the shoes and walk through the blues and never the final lifestyle for the everyone that's woken enough for the hiatus and this to hold the tone. Know your heart. Fixated on one surface of the amount of that, for the taking the glance at the reading of book of the cover, for the reading in and over this final goodbye, proves an existence for the playing with fire, the luring what is written and never to coincide. By the way, we perceive people that don't judge or to scrutinize and only to the keyhole of it, but you can tell the story for the doors knocking to take the time to dive into for what. So I find the ocean for the characteristic that manifested and not be bare. Stereotypes sugar-coated for the convincing of you. And what is not there for the each of its own, for the squattering and over the squattering with the care for the take the lead for the giving their fair share. Ones who reach out for the seem to all too scared to for the final fear. Goodbye hugs to the longest and you can find an attempt to hold that person. Hold them closer to heart, you never let them, you can find a thought for the goodbye was just a relative term. I have been stripped blank for your cocoon and chime and I never define a basin in this nightgown, but I console to regret the satin silk. Satan fixated on the warmth to the certain rind of surface. Laughing at the skull for the rich light of the moon, for the lavishing under your luxury over the so lovely enough at your celestial smear. I find what's to hold for the that's right behind me. Inevitable for the colossus and over the language, and you can find lavishing enough for the diamond, starched that for the mighty limb. Ever conclusive enough for the fine ecstasy for this to be the grade. Sophistication for the honey, you're erotic and insomnia for your night window for the chemist of fantasy, the romantic of soul. You know I am. Had stuck between that for the very indulgent for the pensive and the introspective for the never you can find with the mind for the venture of things. Suppose the switchboards could you move on course you can for telling about a weird dream you are. Nonsensical for the rest to find a rest to make you laugh and never to chuckle at the best so that you can struggle to visualize things and you can find what's expected to pour for set yourself off to the dream with the music and the sounds and the colors and the smells and you can find a sense and never to visualize something or another. The subconscious can see it. Because subconscious, the conscious mind for the blind, and never to find what is in the dream for this one different enough for the usual, for the changing the slowly enough for the night for the tree.
Still moving, still learning, still praying, but not asking for, being thankful. Move through faith and knowing, past to believing. It was a trail for the journey. Hack that needle jungle for the outside these double-door daring hinges. Do you convey it enough for the knock on the wood? If it were meant to be rather than that, for the unwither, for the unwind, for this, the gravity, the pull, for the ever nearing in each otherness, so that you can have that for the long overdue, for the conversation, the hope and the long in the queue. I love you. The arms stretched wide, heart distance, legs wide, eyes shut, suns on my face a distance, and I love you. Channeling that for the unity and the love of the diversity, for the relaying the messages you find from your great and great forefathers, and never the final experience of sudden the profound, the spiritual and the metaphors. Metamorphosis become that for the sun and looked at for the directly out. I thought so for the never the like the answer there for the find never to find the committed for the this will be the all the different trouble me a lot and never to kill the millions to study the never to find the building and the nest of the distant dark matter. Ugly black cinerary, or I could fire and laying in the trail for the stilling in the grass seeds and I empty for the rubbish outside of your nest and the ants marched in. Using every aerial cable for the highways, and this is the answer that CPU for the laptop port, you mobile changing, charging. It was my idea to see what was crawling in the mobile in my handset. Everywhere irritating and angering them in a little bit for the fire for the answer to cause more arrangement. Never had that ever so look directly at the sun for the communicating and the sorter for the problem. Scouting. Weeks for the nest to where surely for the flooded enough for the, it was possible immobile enough for the something happened inside of me which could not be explained, which some grains felt the grain for the master trail. Nothing was left for the sugar on the floor, for the opposite enough for the vanishing. I'm an anonymous of the rain stop. You find out whether I have the left in peace. This is enough troubling enemy for the shocking and how society decided to leave me alone. For the what is intelligence there for the scale. Independent for the intelligence and how you connect. And if any form of life for this light of no mercy. It's easy to love. Animals are the whales, or the bears, or the pandas, and the kangaroos, and yumbus, and tigers too. For the turtles and shark dolphins, but never see the ants and your wives they can't carry the struggle. Fair in your channeling for the what's relaying. Past of the pairs of the yesteryears of the tail of stretch of that for the cross of deep blue sea. For the time stands that along for the horizontal line. For the shadows of the golden strings, your setting sun. It will be another day when the sky blushes pink. You're unlike that faded blue vague. And now with the white clouds you find was to be another day for the foolishly yet beautiful. Falling in love breaking their hearts and once again. There won't be any pause for the warm breeze. You and I have now for the inhale to never to learn to inhale the cold, the biting air. It was the biting and enough of the how now it's inhale the die for the bleeding in the nostrils and the crackle knuckles and you're bent and broken with the bleeding of or torn skin, beating for the life as it is and may we never run our love again for this to let love seep to deliver over the empty riverbeds and the water stones are free to the will. I let it fill up the cup of the brim for the flow of the sauce. Maybe never for the be blindfolded for ourselves to sleep afraid of these little smears. With the doubt, fear, the shaking hands, and the smudging of tears, it is without a doubt for this to write about our names in each other, and flesh of the sovereign for the enough of the weak be right. Just until the memories become nightmares of the past, we run, rush, kiss, love, touch, have sex to the cut for the heel, the scream, distracted all till we forgive it, until one day for the we can pick that wound. It wouldn't hurt any longer for the neither hurt nor be numb. Or life at the over, the sings a lullaby for the we don't doze, we dream with wide-eyed open eyes, and nobody can find the chaos and the echoing voice. After the unresting and the flapping of the butterfly wings, and after all the time, and after all this time, for the heart like a child, stubborn, strong, vehement, and I can find a heart like a child. Let it sing and crave and never to rave, slow enough for the skeptical about the extremities to the dear hearts and rare and mediocre to different. One time and another for to let a heart beat. Let the heart beat differently for the this to be the poem with the song. A poem for the heart, a poem to start, a poem with never-ending stories, never to protect those unborn. For the what about that for that you could find was all the care for help, for the love for the once needed and spirit for the thought I did, for the once I knew how I felt, for the mind played the tricks on me. Main more became strange for fine over time, but it just felt like a lie. I never knew what it felt like. For this nowhere to stare for your beautiful eyes, now I realize it actually feels like. Quite accurately, you can pronounce mine. Tonight should meet you with the off-white smile. Gravity yesterday for the floating alone. Would like it better if it were pulled to me. Gravity for the highest bright lights of the purest white. For the great for the flesh that we ascend to the higher place of existence. Wrapped in skin, the forms of bend. How many terror was shed enough for those who feared for what was embraced? Conclude our quest, this the red that flows with black that floods, and how hollow the mind must be for this deems our quest. Nothing more than a test, and this is a lot to prayer to those faced and bright and humbling, to a song for the praise of the one for the whose judgment burns that the fire. Bodies burn brighter than the embers of the air, really rejoicing the quest is ended for the distant father for the well so long. Joining in the meaning is sometimes somewhere and someone something. Decipher the factor for deciding. Disgust, and I can feel your agony for the dry hair against the face of this disgust for the quiet soul. Soul that is in disgust and quiet enough of the adrenaline you can find reaching it rolls from to lead to the footsteps of the brain, from the panics of the body, from the keeping under control to pull me up. Flying, the sun starts to set. Must hurry to reach the top of the world that seems to be on fire. Looking around me and I realized I was on top of the world, jumping right in front of here to there to then, and I could find for the steady last thing for ever to try to die for this jump over to letting go over everything. Fall into the possibilities, fade away. This is when you're truly free. Man, listening to the adrenaline, look at my life for just what it was. It is what it was. It seems to be that you find that people rarely just sit still and watch just to be the vagabond of that own nature for this to be even. I think it's time to get up at the level of the playing field for the calling and the rips and pieces for the contracted deal. Seal that I think it's time to get up and to look at the things with fresh eyes and calling and please stop this not nice. You must be crazy to manipulate you. You must God further for the planning the things in your head, the things you said. Make them out the things you say for the Father. Do you have the honor for the son of your child? For you made him to see we are wild. This is not okay for to make another for the Father. You can find things to say for this to make them further away from this because you can find crazy, insane, sad things, no things. It is because you make me feel sad enough. The what's so good enough you can find happy. The deep people who tend to favor over time. You feeling me, man? Things are time to fade over time. For the older they are, for the more they seem to find. For the memories of the things that have been long ago. For the stories of so many, for the different friends and foes that you can find. The lovers of the enemies and the people of the past and the ghosts and the hunting. Telling is never ever last. And I can find once again and not to cry. There's something wrong with me. When we find a new shedding tears, but not crying. And never to find anything on the ledge. And never to being able to fall due to rope keeping me in place. And you don't want to fall for the one to fall so bad. For the cut the rope for the please and having you mine. For the child that didn't die. Whole journey recommended for the expecting for the one you can find as a child again. For the standing alone. Darkness could be a cocoon for security. For they can't see me, they can't judge me. It could be a place to hide in the form of camouflage. If they can't see me, they can't judge me. It could be a scary place of horrors. And if they can't see, they can't judge. This is a safe haven for the person in hell. For this to get lost in the darkness and keep your light on. like it better if it were pulled to me. Gravity for the highest bright lights, the purest white, for the grateful flesh that we ascend to the higher place of existence. Wrapped in skin in the forms of men. How many tears was shed enough for those who fear for what was embraced? Conclude our quest, this the red that flows with the black, the floods, and how hollow the mind must be for this that deems our quest nothing more than a test, and this a lot to prayer to those faced it bright and humbly, to a song for the praise of the one for the whose judgment burns that the fire. Bodies that burn brighter than the embers of the air, really rejoice that the quest is ended for the distant father for the well so long. Joining in the meeting and sometimes somewhere and someone something. Decipher the factor for deciding. Disgust and I can feel your agony for the dry hair against the face of this disgust for the quietest soul. Soul that is in disgust and quiet enough for the adrenaline you can find in reaching it rolls and lose the lead to the footsteps of the brain, for the panics of the body, for the keeping under control to pull me up. Flying, the sun.
Don't mimic what was seen. Eyes to learn. Convenience is just killing me instead of being productive. Trying not to drown in the R&B, but it doesn't help the acronyms that life offers. Serenading in the head for the chaos in the empty nightclub lazy. Crack the window. Cracked voices smile for the breeze that hisses the heat on the body for the battle rages on. And I'm isolated for the enough. Myself a riot like a COVID victim. You could be the raging persistent. The conscious crackles like a desperate movie. And the villain from however to be me being stubborn enough for the turn up the volume, but until my conscience is but a whisper for the back of my hand. Sometimes I like to take a look at my life and just watch because it's the time for me. For people rarely sit and watch. I want to be the type of person who waits and listens. Like a vagabond singing in my own rot. This is damp and road, it's my own cotton. Weather greets me, my spouse. So this is the end of the day for the stars illuminate my place I call a house. So this is the vagabond singing my own. The elixir my disappointments with life and keep strolling and fiddling with my fife. And I find a vagabond for the singing of my own. Searching for any innocence of the whiskey of a tide, for this to be the guilt of the leaf flow in the wind until it takes me right where I've sinned, and I find a vagabond singing to my own. No companions besides me, tried enough for this skin of nature, and I find my mind sweetness of the spring wherever I can find, for the vagabond singing to my own. Struggling with the trophy, with the right where I was shining, you could resolutely find the tribe for the piercing stones of the wrong trails of the sun, of the long and peaceful silence and the thunderous of wells. Same scenery, timely different, and I'll see mountains, river, the oceans will applaud for the lifts. Or lifts over the gloomy nights and those happy days to try to. Here I am, there, if I carry my feet for wherever the strange lands and the kin I meet, for the familiar place in the distant was space. Keep strolling in my consistent pace of this fine self-solid. Looking like a glass self. Wish I could decipher my little Pandora box. Available to the ones outside of it, the direction I can't be, for the angles I can't see into the Pandora. I find what's to believe. Everything they tell me from what they've seen inside that box. You find acronyms for the R and rhythm and blues. Zero gravity for the star pools carelessly. Off-white R&B acronyms, rhythm and blues.